Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey, guys.
And we are back with, this is what episode 53 you said that we're on, making our way to 100 episodes.
53.
It's been like a year of the podcast now. At this point, we started mid-July last year. And now now we've crossed that threshold.
We're 1 year older, 1 year wiser, I think. Hopefully you guys are as well. This is a tabletop RPG podcast. Calvin and I are DMs, and we play both in each other's games and plenty of other games. We're just here to kind of ramble about stuff and give you some advice about how you can be a DM or GM, or how you can do the things. We're doing this for a long time now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good explanation of it. We just ramble about our experiences with tabletop RPG games, and hopefully we say something that's useful to someone, or at the very least entertaining. I think we managed to do both pretty well. Been really having a lot of fun with this podcast, so just glad to keep doing it. But I don't know. Is there any other intro stuff we should do, or should we hop right into the important meat of the show? I don't know if there's anything else we have to cover.
Well, I just want to say right off the top, thank you for listening in. Please drop a comment below on anything you want us to talk about. We do read the comments and we do respond, and hey, we'll bring it up on the next podcast if you want to have a conversation of anything that we say in the podcast. So yeah, That's it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh yes, all the social media things, like and subscribe, follow us on Twitter, all that cool stuff.
All that cool stuff, Holmes.
Let's get into the show. First off, our first order of the day, our first order of every day, is the Win with Dice weekly GM tip of the week, brought to you by Ramon. So, what do you do? We have anything for this week, or? What is your how long have you been doing the tips?
I legitimately forgot. Forgot that I had to do it. I sat down and I was like, "Oh yes, got to record the podcast this week." And until you said it, I was like, "Oh crap!"
This is something. Actually, I have something. If you don't have something.
Oh wow, really? Thanks for the save, Calvin.
This is from a conversation I was actually just having very recently, and it's more of a player tip, but I guess GMs can sort of incentivize for this sort of thing. But I was having a conversation with Rebecca and Payne, our two friends who we regularly play with, and we've talked about Rebecca's game on here. Looking forward to her running the next session of that, which we'll definitely talk about on the show. But yeah, we were just having conversations about RPGs and stuff like that. And I was talking to Payne about character backstories and that sort of thing. And what I had mentioned to them, something that I was really happy with, is one player from another game that I was running. They had given me a backstory that had a bunch of side characters in it, and it was mostly just this person trained them in sword fighting or whatever. It was very sparse and just names and small details and stuff like that. But it really helped me out a lot for world building, because then at that point, if I do need a character who is a person who trains people in sword fighting or fencing or whatever, that person already exists in the world. So that's one less specific NPC that I have to make. Not only that, but now they have a built-in history with one of the player characters. So if that person ever comes up in this situation, there's already something for them to rebound off of, for that player in particular. And then it gives the other player characters a chance to interact with them and say, well, who was this? What history do they have with this person? Just kind of create more places for players to hop in and do some RP stuff. So I guess what I would say is, if as a player, if you find yourself creating a backstory for a game, give yourself space to create other characters that would be involved with yours, other non-player characters, because you do give your DM just that many more pieces to work with. As much as they would get with your regular backstory and stuff, you're giving them more things that can sprinkle around the world that you can then interact with later, and then can be brought up and played with in certain ways.
Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna take that and say, GMs to make your players do that.
Yes, sure.
Like, actually, that's great advice, Calvin. Honestly, everyone should encourage their players, especially, you know, at the beginning of a campaign. You guys are setting up, everyone's writing their backstories, maybe people are trying to pitch their characters, you're trying to pitch the world to them. I think it's a great way to anchor a character in the world, right? Because there's always, like, you know, you meet in a tavern but you guys don't know anything about each other. But I think that, like, it'll help out the DM fit you into the world and make you feel more connected to it as a player. And yeah, honestly, it gives people it gives DMs the ability to bring your past back up, like actually have them show up, right? Have them interact with the characters, and then, you know, that means that's if you want your DM to, you know, have your I don't know, your soap opera happen, right? You're like, I'm playing a character with a muddy backstory and you're trying to escape their tragic past. Who's, you know, your character's trying to escape, but they keep following you. Give someone to, like, so the DM can put in front of you, right? So it's actually following you. Like, go pick up a person, right? I think there's like a tendency to be, you know, a weird drifter who has no family, no ties to anything, and is, you know. I just think that's kind of silly, because, you know, people like that in the real world are kind of weird, and we're trying to play real people, I guess, sometimes, right? So
yeah, and like additionally, like, it gives players more of a chance to feel like they have more, I guess, impact on the world around them, less so that they're just like existing their way through a world that existed just like they just blipped into. They contributed like a piece of it. There's a part of it that came from them and wouldn't have existed without them, and it's there for them to interact with. I think that's another great thing. That's one of the things I like about our pirate campaign, is how much impact the players have on that whole situation.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys just generate whole sorts of nonsense, and I just say, yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah, but it works. So yeah, I think that's our GM/player tip of the week.
Yeah.
Brought to you by both of us, apparently.
Mostly Calvin. I'll have one for next week. I promise. I'll have one for next week.
Okay, let's get into talking about some games. We have a smidge of a recap today, because I finally got to run a game in person myself. Just yesterday. Jeez. The days feel so long. But yes, it was just yesterday. After however many months away, I got to run some Starfinder. No, I never really talked about it a whole ton on here, at least our game. But yeah, I mean, Starfinder, it's something that I've been wanting to get back into for a while. I keep bringing that part up, just because I'm really into the setting and the situation of it. It's sort of like a science fantasy game. Less hardcore sci-fi that you might find in like more of a cyberpunkish game. But there's like elements of technology and magic to it that I just find really fascinating and interesting. And yeah, we had started a game a while back, obviously, and we did like 3 sessions. And I had just planned to, I was just taking a one of the Starfinder Society games, changing up a few things on it to fit more what I want to do in the future, and then going with that because I had some concepts that I wanted to do. I just needed a way to set it up and then, you know, introduce people to the game. So I was like, okay, we'll do a very short thing with this, and then it'll get you all to level 2 or whatever, and then we'll start to open things up. And then, you know, stuff changed, obviously, and we couldn't really play for like a year, which was kind of annoying because I only really had like this one small finale planned, that fortunately went way better than I expected. Really, all I had planned was like this one combat moment, and I thought the session would be like a couple hours, but we actually really got a whole lot done, and a lot of really fun stuff happened when players got to RP. So I guess I'll just get into the recap of this entire situation. Okay, so it is sort of in a that was my rambling introduction to this recap. So it is sort of a adaptation of the Into the Unknown Starfinder Society adventure. which is sort of based around new members of the Starfinders finding this ancient ship and recovering it, and there's some space battles and some ground battles and stuff along the way. But what I really wanted to do is, because at the time I was working on this, I was really into the soundtrack of the first Halo game. So I was like, I'm just gonna do a Halo. And so I was working on something that was like very similar to the plot of that first game, but changing elements of it that to be a bit more magic based, as well as changing the shape of it. So instead of a ring shaped Halo, it was an octagonal shape, which is completely different. I don't know if you're aware, but it's a very, very different shape.
It's a poor shape. Hexagons are the bestagons, friend. You messed up.
I did not learn until recently that hexagons are the bestagons. Unfortunately, I guess way back when, I was like, I need more sides. So, octagon it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was essentially my plan. So I changed it up so that they were joining the stewards, and I had to change some world building stuff a bit just to give them more agency outside of the main star system that the game is set in. But it went like fairly very smoothly, especially given like the player characters, which were just a ton of fun to interact with. We had I was using like the pre-made stats for the pre-generated characters, but everybody took their characters in like very, very different directions. So Abby was playing this human envoy who ended up being like very showy, as well as maybe just a bit careless.
Yeah.
When it came to using some grenades.
I would say that so I know that for Abby's my wife, so me and my wife we like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? So our characters, so she was playing the human envoy, pre-made generated character. Calvin let me make my own character for it since I've played Starfinder before. So I wanted to kind of go and be like a sentient robot, which is like a little bit less human than like an android, which I believe is a standard race in Starfinder, right? But still, I'm still advanced enough to simulate a soul, so it's pretty cool. But I wanted to play him like C-3PO because I just like to make the stiff movements of like when 3PO talks when we're role playing.
Yeah,
everyone really likes that. So, but then we're like, maybe we should be like what's his name? Amy and
Peralta.
And Jake Peralta, yeah, Amy Santiago and Jake Peralta, right?
Yeah.
So my wife's playing Jake Peralta and I'm Amy Santiago. So me being a robot, I'm like a stickler for rules, and she's more like more of the silly loose cannon type of character. So we're having a blast with that.
Yeah. It was a really fun dynamic that you two had as you were trying to actually do space work, and then she was just messing with you the entire time.
Yeah, literally pulling pranks.
Along with that, we also had the Isoki mechanic played by my friend Payne, who is I liked all the other like random stuff he was doing. I liked how he had his own space carved out within the engineering room, which was like super warm and uncomfortable for everyone else, but he was just in the zone while there, and also messing with Shepard a bit. Shepard being your SR, your robot character, because he was super interested in how your robot worked.
So,
it seems like everyone was dunking on. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone keeps trying to like mess with Shepard, but only because Shepard is like doesn't understand like 100% why they're doing it. he's
still processing that data.
Yeah, he's like, what? Why would you do that? Like, I don't understand.
And lastly, we had a Lashunta Technomancer played by Rebecca, who was this very cool, very smart, very incredible pilot as well. Got some really cool moves in there in that last battle we did.
The goddamn galaxy, man. Holy.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so we had, super smart scientist who also does some magic. we had this whole crew of people, and I was just guiding them through, like, you're now joining the stewards, so you have this mission, this investigation you go on that just suddenly becomes this whole space-spanning situation. And the intent of it was, I think in the adventure, the ship is just, like, I don't remember if it was anything special. I feel like it maybe might have been, and I probably should, look it up again. No, it was an old Starfinder ship, and then there was some stuff that came from it, and you had to track that back down. But I changed it to be a ship from the Aslanti Star Empire. Because what I really wanted to set up was basically Halo, but changing out the humans, Marine Corps, with the stewards, and the Covenant with the Aslanti Empire. Because they were the only things that really fit this, like, the scale of what that would have been.
Yeah.
So, I switched those parts out. I changed up some things that were there. I changed up some of the items to be more like, here's some stuff an Aslanti ship might have had. And, normally, of course, they do, like, self-destruct when they lose a battle, but it was like, you discovered, eventually, as to why it did not self-destruct as you went in on this investigation. I guess I could recap the whole thing. It's sort of spoilers for Into the Unknown. I'm just trying to figure out, like, how much I should talk about, because I don't want to spoil this whole adventure, but I also, changed a bunch of stuff, so...
Calvin, I love it. You're just slowly like, wait, maybe I should just explain a little bit more.
Yeah. I was like, how much should I go into this? I guess I'll just go into this. So yeah, it started off with you all joining the stewards. You were having a conversation with a certain chief inspector, who was totally not based on Captain Holt, also from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I mean, even if he wasn't, he very quickly became Captain Holt.
He really did, like, instantly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was informing you that someone had come across some Aslanti technology being sold by this one particular sort of like a pawn shop owner. So you went down there to investigate how they came across such a thing, because obviously that would be very unlikely, especially in this space. They gave you directions to this particular undead ghoul who was sort of hanging out on the station, and informed you that they were the ones who had sold that stuff rather desperately at the time. So you followed that lead with your investigation. You confronted that ghoul, managed to capture them alive, despite some shenanigans. Yep. And they informed you that they were part of the corpse fleet, it's like part of the, they come from a planet of, like, completely undead people known as Eox, and they were part of the Eoxian fleet, but they split off because of certain extremist views with regards to, like, living and undead creatures. So they're essentially like this force that just, like, goes around and attacking ships of the living and stuff like that. So yeah, you discover they were part of the corpse fleet, but one of their ships was currently out of juice. It was stuck in space. So this person came down in a dropship to sell off some stuff they had salvaged from a crashed ship they found. So you headed off to investigate the ship stuck in space. You were also, however, accompanied by a certain NPC, a half-elf sniper by the name of Telemu, who was, I kind of played her off as very cold at first. Maybe it would take some time for her to warm up to the characters a bit, who knows? And then I just gave her, like, a little bit of a situation that we would see if it would become apparent in time. Additionally, being, part elven, she also, like, shared a home planet with the Lashuntan scientist that you had with you. So Rebecca was trying to make some headway with her as far as RP goes, which again was another fun thing to do, even though it was, like, ages ago. I just really, again, I don't know, I kind of like playing that mysterious character. But yeah, you traveled off, you came across the undead ship, you did a whole lot of pew-pews with your lasers, a whole lot of grabs from your robot, which was, annoying to deal with, because he's incredibly strong.
Yes.
But during that time, you were able to discover that the ship had come across, like, this downed ship on this desert planet, but something had attacked them as they left, and it left them without power. So, you made plans to head to that desert planet. Along the way, you also discovered that Telemu, this, she is part of the stewards, but she was also there to, like, evaluate you for your, like, promotion to, like, agent status. Something, like, sort of similar to, like, how Spectres work in Mass Effect. That's sort of what I was going for. But yeah, so while she was there, you also discover that she was regularly taking doses of Zero, which is this drug that like increases like perception and stuff like that, but it's also somewhat addictive and can be debilitating in heavy amounts.
Right.
So yeah, that was the thing that was going on, and that was just like a little bit of mystery that I had going on the ship, because at the time I didn't really have like a whole lot of like downtime ship stuff. There's certainly like a ton more of that now, which I'm gonna have a lot of fun with if we continue this game. But yeah, just a little thing going on with that character. I don't know if it's gonna be relevant later. We'll see. So you touched down on the desert planet. I'm speeding through things, obviously, because I don't want to like ruin the entire adventure for people. But you touched down on that desert planet. There were some asteroids. There was a sandstorm. There was a giant worm, which you fought off. Also some living holograms, or rather undead ghosts within holograms that were on the crashed ship itself.
Yeah. Which I thought was kind of cool, because it was like they were like digital ghosts, which was like what?
Yeah,
that was confusing and a little existential, I guess, for Shepard.
True.
It was like
true.
It was like what?
Yeah, I just thought they were a cool creature concept. I don't even remember if they were in the original adventure. I definitely remember that they were in one of the Alien archives, and I saw it, and I was like, that's cool as hell. Let's do that. So yeah, you fought off some living holograms. Well, so a couple of things happened while you were on this desert planet. One, you ended up discovering this series of tunnels that had like these ancient data caches that had holographic images of this octagonal shape. This mysterious and totally original construction somewhere out in space. You also, however, discovered. So, I don't remember who asked for this specifically, but it did come up that you wanted to look for the eggs of this giant worm creature that you had fought off, and I didn't know what to do with that, if I'm being completely honest. So I was like, yeah, you find a bunch of them. You found a number of them, and you have to take them back to the ship with you. And at the time, I was like, okay, we're close to the end of the session, so I guess next time I'll just figure out like how this is going to work, because I had no idea. But yeah, you got those eggs, you got the data about the thing, the space ring, which is a space octagon, and you hit it off. And at the time, you were confronted by. So here's the thing. When we did that session, what my intention was that it would end with you confronted by like this massive amoeba thing. Like it's normally a microscopic like creature, but it's like now the size of a ship. However, I don't know how it happened.
Right.
But at some point between then and now, everyone got the idea that it was actually a space whale.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
You mentioned it. It was totally a giant amoeba before.
It was.
But then everybody was like, "Yeah, the space whale." So that's why you made it a space whale.
Yep. Because it wasn't until I went back at my
funny.
notes, like after we like talked about it briefly, and I was like, "Wait a minute, it wasn't a whale." But everyone remembered the whale, and I was like, "Okay, let's do this whale." Because, I mean, fortunately for me, as I was like setting up this session, I started going through all the Starfinder stuff, and I was like, "Oh, there's something that is sort of a space whale." And it's an appropriate like level for this encounter, because I didn't want to make it like too difficult, because we were just getting back into it. And it was like perfect level. It is a whale. It was like I was already there. It was like it was made for me, basically. So yeah, I don't know, like that it was totally unintentional on my part, because that's not what it was meant to be, but like it seemed like everyone was much more interested in that than what I had originally thought of. So I just thought, let's roll with it. Let's make this a space whale. So yeah, it was a whale, and I was also enhanced by some technology that had been drilled into it that looked, similar to where you had found that data cache before, so probably related to that. And you ended up fighting this space whale, and that is where our actual session started. And then I finished my very quick recap. So what I had planned for
Very
this,
quick recap.
my quick recap, it took like 20 minutes. But yeah, what I had planned for this session, all I had written down was like battle with the whale, travel back home, drop the stuff off. That's basically it. And I thought again, like the ship battle is probably gonna take a while because it's a pretty complex rule set for Starfinder. You can break it down into like your individual roles and make it feel more simple, but it's still like overall a pretty complex thing to deal with. So I thought, well, that's gonna take a while, but then we can flim flam through the travel back home and stuff. But we did not flim flam. We actually had like a whole lot of fun RPing the downtime of space travel, which is it's just I'm like because you know how much I like travel, right? So you know how much I love the encounter tables and the downtime activities. So yeah, it was just really fun to do that. But let's get into talking about this space battle against a giant whale. So
yeah, it was weird. At first I was like, what is this whale gonna shoot laser beams at us? And it did.
Yeah,
it did shoot laser beams at us.
It tried to. Yeah, because one of its weapons that it has is that it's able to like shoot this beam that has EMP effects, which is how it disabled the undead ship, and it messed with the electronics on the Aslanti ship, so it didn't get to self-destruct itself. And it tried to do the same thing to you, but that whale was just rolling rocks all night.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we were all rolling rocks all night. Yeah, like actually, I know that because I was managing the NPC character and my character. We were both on the 2 guns on the spaceship. And I was rolling 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
Which was not great. But yeah, no, it was cool. So like, those not familiar with Starfinder and its ship battle mechanics, essentially it's like, it's like all those scenes from like Star Wars where the Millennium Falcon is like, trying to shoot some TIE fighters, right? Like everybody's kind of like, there's a pilot, there's like a, an engineer, there's like a gunners, there's like, all sorts of positions that your party can take up in the scenario, and the pilot gets to choose where the ship goes, the captain gets to dish out some orders, the gunners get to shoot, the engineer gets to like divert power to the shields, right? Like all the kind of fun stuff, which was good, although we didn't get hit.
No, because again, whale was rolling really bad, and it's not like you guys are super hard to hit.
Yeah, we're I mean, a decent, I think you just got to roll 10 or above and you got us, right? For sure. So I'm pretty sure the whale wasn't that hard to hit either. We were just rolling pretty poorly. But it was like the first time the other players at the table were even doing ship combat, right? Because they're still really new to Starfinder. So I think it was good. We had a little bit of like, where do you guys want to go? You know what I mean? Like, I think it was very collaborative. Yes. It's like, how we're all going to figure out what to do to maximize our turn, right? So everybody kind of gets in position, and we're actually trying to work together, which was pretty cool.
It's sort of my favorite thing about the Starfinder Starship combat, because it takes you from being individuals on a battlefield to being part of a team. Directing a whole unit all at once. Like one person is your legs moving around, one person is your weapons firing off, and other people are like, well, they're boosting you, they're boosting the ship. We did have sort of a chain where one person like helped the engineer out, the engineer helped out with the weapons fired off. It was just like it's such a collaborative element of the game, and I get that it might be complex to try to like conceive of everything all at once all the time. It does feel like a totally separate. It literally is a totally separate rule set within the game itself. But I think it's one of the strongest elements of the game. You have to do a lot of abstracting, of course, to do like a 2D plane space battle, but it's really fun.
Yeah. to me, what it feels like, it's like a more complex extended skill challenge, right?
Yeah.
So it's really just, you know, you using it gives your skills a little bit more, I guess, combat efficiency, right? Like you can use it, you know, instead of it just being like, I don't know, acrobatics or athletics to grapple somebody in that kind of system. It's like, you know, you can use your stuff to kind of help out the team, and it's more like a tactical situation. But like it is just a bunch of skill challenges essentially, right? If you break it down to it.
Yeah, that's totally true. I hadn't considered it that way, but yes, it definitely is.
Man, it's pretty dope. Yeah, I just want to say there was props to our pilot who was rolling the 20s all night. Oh man, that was ridiculous. The whole game was ridiculous. But yeah, so I want to get to the final. Okay, so like we're both missing, right? Us and the whale trying to shoot laser beams. The whale tried to ram us.
Yeah, I looked up the rules of ramming for nothing. Because like all the whale stuff has like some special effect. Like it can ram, it has EMP, it has a tail attack that if it had gotten through your shields, it would have messed you up real good. But
what assume says a giant space whale, right?
But yeah, just bad rolls all night.
Yeah. So what if? Yeah. So like our pilot, like, so the whale was right next to us, out of our range, right? So then our pilot just like put the thing in reverse, backed us up, and then it was like, so our captain, played by my wife, she thinks she demanded. What did she demand, or did she encourage? I think she demanded.
Probably demand.
The engineer. Yeah, she demanded the engineer to, I guess, do better. Essentially, it's like, don't mess up like my character was missing. And then the engineer was like, okay, I'll reroute powers to the guns, I think, or like reroute it to, yeah, I think it was the guns and the shields. And then my character helped out the engineer because I was like, I guess I'm bad at shooting, so I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, he took up the chief mate position, which uses acrobatics or athletics.
Yeah, which is like you actually physically go into, like, you open up a panel, or you get to a console quickly enough, or like you're connecting stuff and actually physically rerouting power, which was pretty cool. It allowed me to use athletics and acrobatics, which is like you don't think you could use on a ship, but they gave like the options to, which I was very clever. I was like pretty impressed with that. Yeah, man, and then it all summed up to Telemu doing a barrage, firing multiple weapons, and downing the whale in one shot.
Yeah, you really rocked that whale, because you missed like 3 missiles in a row. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure the whale can handle the laser, and I guess we'll get through the missiles. But this is part of the reason why I had you running the NPC, because for one, I didn't want to do like a billion things, and for two, I wanted the victory to feel more like your own. So while I guess it was an NPC who landed the last shot, like, it was still a team effort to do so. And yeah, you fired a missile that does 4d8s worth of damage, and you got 35 points of damage on that. No, not 35. It was like 30. It was 8. It was 30. It was 30 because you got 2 8s and 2 7s on that missile. Yeah. It was which was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good shot. You know, like the missiles. I just imagine the missile like streaming into like the whale's mouth right before it launches another beam attack or something. It like explodes.
Yeah.
And right, so you're like, wow, that was crazy. And then you didn't realize that I still hadn't fired the laser cannons.
Yes.
Like, oh god.
Yes, because the way like Starfinder ship combat works, like you roll all your attacks and then you calculate your damage, because in like a naval battle, like everything will have a chance to fire, and then like the stuff will land. So it's like a pirate ship battle in that sort of way. Like something can fire its cannons and then get hit by a cannon and then be destroyed, but it still managed to fire off that one shot from before.
Yeah, there's like that delay, right, where like the shots are being fired and you're receiving deck. Everything happens at the same time. Kind of idea. Yeah.
So yeah, you rolled the 2 attacks, and I guess I forgot that there was 2 because I was so like amazed by the first one that I was like, oh my god, there's another.
That was a good
and
one.
then
And
that whale got totally wrecked.
Yeah, it was obliterated in one go, and everybody was really sad because they're like, I feel bad for killing a whale.
You should feel bad. It was definitely like...
Shepard,
yep.
Yeah, Shepard does not feel bad about killing that whale.
Yeah, no, because it was definitely like... it was sort of corrupted by the stuff that was attached to it. I know there was discussion of like trying to save it and things like that. And I mean, I would have tried to work with it if that's what people wanted to do. Like, I was for sure about to. But I was trying to make it also pretty obvious that like that would be incredibly difficult to do because it's technology you do not in any way understand on this creature that it seems to have been like completely altered in certain ways. So, you know, it would have been very hard to do. Which is also kind of why I like narratively that the NPC who also didn't care about any of that landed that killing blow, because like zero hesitation there on her part.
Oh yeah, the whale was totally gonna like wreck us, man. Like, I don't want to be stuck here. Like, no way.
Right?
Right. So yeah, man. Like, I don't know. My character also didn't. I mean, me as a player, I'm like, oh, thank God the whale's dead. But my character's like, great, thank God the whale's dead. Right? We're not gonna all just crash and burn into the planet because the stupid whale got rid of our engines or something. Yeah. But yeah, and then we proceeded to leave, right?
Yeah.
Because we had to go make this report.
So
to Captain Notholt.
Captain Notholt. That's totally his name. So so yeah, we rolled on the. You know, you roll the amount of time it'll take for you to travel back, and then I got a chance to use for the first time something I recently got was the Galaxy Exploration Manual. It's one of the new Starfinder books, and like half the reason I got it was for that drift encounter table. Other reasons are for like it has a lot of stuff for building planets, which I'm excited to do. But that drift encounter table, I finally got a chance to use it. I finally have an encounter table for Starfinder travel. So what had come up? So the way
travel tables, so funny, man.
Look, it's just, you know, it's an adventure that I have not prepared. It's a moment that lets me be surprised too. I don't know what's gonna come from those tables. But what did happen? So the way faster than light travel works in Starfinder, it's essentially like you're hopping into an extra dimensional space and then hopping out of it somewhere else on the material plane. But that space itself is always constantly like taking in things from other planes or constantly changing size and shape and stuff like that. So what you would come across was a couple of parts of the positive and negative planes, which were sort of like locked in this dueling battle of creation and destruction, and your ship was sort of like drifting towards that on its course. So I had, it does give you a situation that's like more of a, I think it's meant to be more of a combat thing, but I wanted to be more of like a skill thing. So I was like, well, what skills do you want to apply to get out of this situation? And our mechanic, Quig Vermintide, was, he did some, you know, engineering stuff to like change the ship course, and you managed to get around it, but it did add some travel time, which again, just a thing that was out there. But it gave us more time to do the fun stuff on the ship, which included the hatching of those eggs that you all gathered. So yeah, they were all given like this space within the engine room because it sort of matched their environment. I think Viri, the scientist, was the one who had figured that out. Also at the same time, had a really interesting conversation with Telemu, who revealed a bit about her past, and was sort of, I don't know if I want to say apologetic, but a little like, no, I get that you're upset. I would have done it anyway, but I understand you're upset, which was a lot for her as a character. We also discovered hilariously that Telemu is lactose intolerant. With an interesting conversation over nachos. But more importantly, those eggs hatch. So yeah, way back when, you all decided, hey, we're gonna take these eggs and we're gonna hatch them and we're gonna have some worm pets. And I was like, okay, I guess I gotta figure out what those are gonna be. Because I really didn't know. That's like the magic of DMing. Like, you can't predict what the players are gonna do. I couldn't predict you were gonna collect some eggs and then decide to raise them as your own. But fortunately for me, one of the more recent Alien Archive books, which is sort of like the bestiaries for Starfinder, had some stuff on companions, so I was able to custom make some little larvae companions, just in case it ever comes up in battle or anything like that.
I mean, yeah, I think it was a cool RP moment because everyone had a chance to kind of like, do you want to go see the new babies we have? Like,
yeah.
Like, right, we had some cool human moments with Telemu and Viri, just kind of bonding over the fact that how cute these worms are. And Shepard had nothing to do with any of this. He's just like, nope. What is everyone even talking about these worms? Like, he's like, why did everyone even bring these on the ship?
Shepard's a professional.
Shepard's like, this has nothing to do with the mission. Why did we bring it back?
So yeah, I had you all roll like a die to determine how many of these things there were, and you got 4. And at first it was like, oh, perfect, that's one for everybody, one for each of the player characters. But then Shepard didn't want anything to do with this, so Telemu got to name one, which was fun. Again, I really like how you also tried to bond with her, Viri in particular, Quig sort of as well. And I guess Kasara, but yeah, I actually, you know what, pretty much everyone tried to make some sort of connection there. Even though there was some assumption about her being evil, which, you know, maybe she is.
If she is, then it doesn't matter as long as she does the mission, at least from Shepard's point of view. I don't know if Shepard really believes in good or evil.
No, there's just done and not done. There's 0 and 1. Yeah. So yeah, while on the way there, so yeah, there was some points where our envoy Kasara was messing with Shepard as he was trying to make his report. Like, she was unplugging his computer and messing with him. She poured water on him at some point just to see what would happen. Of course, nothing happened because he's not he's not that vulnerable.
Yeah, I'm not like a. Yeah, I'm like, this is like super space. There's spaceships and magic and stuff. I'm not gonna be susceptible to short circuit to water. Like, come on, Holmes. Like,
yeah, you're a bit sturdier than that. But yeah, it was just a really fun dynamic.
Funny. Yeah, and then, you know, always quick trying to take me apart. And you know, Shepard gets offended a lot.
As he should. That's his one emotion.
Yeah, it's being offended because no one ever treats him like a person. Everyone always treats him like a robot.
Yeah.
Like, even though he puts his body on the line for everyone all the time.
Literally. Runs right up in the front of the battle.
Yeah. Shoot me, not my friends. They're squishy.
They made us squishy meat.
But yeah, no, it was really fun. There was lots of cool team dynamic moments. You know, as funny enough as Shepard is not really into the going with the flow with the rest of the crew, I still like that everyone likes my character for you know, just saying that's a dumb idea, or like that's kind of silly, you know what I mean, being the straight man.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, which is what every comedy group needs. The normal person to like point out the silliness.
How ridiculous everyone's statement is. It also doesn't help that like I make like the funny voices and I do the through PO movement. Shepard's a fun character to play.
That's the best part. Yeah. So Quig and Viri also had like a bit of a moment. Quig was reading his worm a book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Viri like pointed out that the book was about caterpillars and not worms. but she'll pick up a proper one for the worms to read because she's the smart one. She knows what books are appropriate for space worms to read, I guess.
Oh my god! I keep imagining in SpongeBob, the worms. I think the worms that they have are dogs.
Yeah,
and because the snails are cats, so the worms are dogs. I just keep thinking that they're just it's literally like a litter of puppies.
Basically,
they're just wriggling around.
That's basically what you've ended up with. Which is like I don't know. It's just that's one of those things that's just it's just so much fun about this game, or any RPG game, is just responding to the players doing stuff you don't expect. But yeah, you did also. So you decided to bring the worms with you when you went to update Chief Inspector Not Holt about what had gone on. You just put them on a cart with a couple of fusion cells to keep them warm. Which is super safe, obviously. And then you were updating him on events. Kasara was mostly focused on all the cool battles and stuff. Shepard was the one who was actually focused on the relevant information, the actual investigation they had been sent to do. So I'm there trying to play this very serious character, but really having a lot of fun with the dynamic of everybody.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, I had a lot of complaints.
Yeah, Shepard was just constantly sending back different reports and complaints directly to the chief inspector. So he was getting all these emails. Oh man. Space.
Yeah.
And then I finished off with what I wanted to set up was an attack on Absalom Station. So I had the Aslanti fleet just booming out of space, showing up directly on your doorstep. Why are they there? What are they gonna do? I don't know. Probably a whole lot. I haven't played Halo Reach, but I feel like it'll be something similar to that. At least from what I remember reading in the Halo wiki.
Well, Calvin, hopefully it's not like Halo Reach because it's a tragedy. First off,
maybe not entirely. I just want to set it up so it's a similar situation to the start of the first Halo. But anywho,
okay, as long as we're all Master Chief, we'll be fine.
You'll need to be. But yeah, that was our Starfinder session. Again, all I really had planned, all I had was 4 sentences in my notes. Ship battle, travel, drop off notes, attack at the end. That's all I had. And I expected that to go by super fast, just get it out of the way so I can set up the other thing that I wanted to do. But as we got into it and people settled into their characters and there was the dynamics going on between the team and then the team and the NTC, everything going on in the ship fight as people's personalities were coming out as they were choosing up their different roles and what they wanted to do. It just really expanded on what I was doing, and I think that's I don't know. I think that's something that you have to be aware of when it comes to DMing. Is sometimes you're gonna make notes that are not nearly enough for what's gonna happen. I think there might be a lot of people, or maybe it was just me, that this happened a lot too. But I would always feel oh, I don't have enough prepared for this session, right? I don't have a billion different things ready to go. I don't know if this is going to be enough to satisfy people for a few hours of entertainment. But, as always, when you get a bunch of people together and then they start talking or they start RPing and stuff, there's always going to be things that extend and snowball in ways that you can't anticipate for. So if you go into a session with only 4 sentences of notes, you might be surprised to find that it works out a whole lot better than you would expect it to.
Yeah, man. Get your DM napkin. That's what I say.
Yeah, if you just write down some stuff on a napkin.
Run an entire session. Yeah. You'd be surprised how much you can get out of that one napkin. I tell you that much. But it also comes down to the group too. our group of friends, we're very, comfortable with role playing with each other. And, we're also comfortable just making up our own fun with these funny ass characters and setting up these cool sitcom scenes or comedy scenes and riffing off of each other. So, it all depends on the table, right? And how well you know people. But honestly, like, if you're strapped and you're like, man, I didn't really think about everything all the way through, I'm telling you, you'll get inspired at the table from your players. And if anything else, just throw a combat at them.
Yeah.
Combats just eat up time, right? You wanna like, eat up an hour out of a session, just let them fight something. Like, it's if it's a combat table RPG, then throw a fight at them. If it's something else, well, honestly, like, I don't know, like, just throw something complicated. You know what I mean? Like, just, I think that it's always a good way to kind of bide time so you can think about more plot stuff later.
I mean, yeah, that's not a bad idea, because it does give you time to sort of catch up, because like the battle is going on and it's an extended scene, so it gives you more time to like write down notes if you have to, or catch up on your note taking, which is something as a GM you really got to look for moments to do. Which is why I'm grateful that you all spent a lot of time talking to each other, because it gave me time to like write down like what are all the hatchling notes or hatchling names that you have now, and what just happened like 5 minutes ago.
Or you could be like me and don't take any notes. Don't be like me. Take notes, folks. Be like Calvin. He's the good one.
I mean, I'll take that compliment. I don't know, like they just make my life so much easier. Like, I would have struggled to get back to this if I didn't like keep notes on what had happened before, because I would not have remembered a single thing. I don't know. I know I have a terrible memory, so I don't leave it to chance. Because if I do, I'm gonna forget stuff. But yeah, throwing a combat at people, it's a good way to give you a chance to just breathe. If you make it a straightforward thing, or if you just have like a bunch of them in your back pocket to throw, or a whole encounter table. Those are really fun, I hear.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I kind of want to keep talking about Starfinder spaceship combat, if I'm being honest. Like, that was just like a really fun thing to get back to. It was the largest part of the session, I think, but it was like just I was worried it would be complex, but like after like one or two rounds, everyone had sort of figured out like what they were doing on the ship and how they were helping, whether it was movement or shooting or like buffing and boosting stuff. And then like once we were in that space, it was just like really easy to keep like once we got into like a rhythm of it, which is sort of where I really wanted to get. Like, we were just able to, I'll do this thing, I'm gonna do this thing, what action's gonna do here, or I can do this, so I'll set up this for someone else. It's a really great system, I think. Like, I could do a whole campaign of like just that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think that like it's a really fun, and I don't think it's that complicated. I think it's definitely has like a high level of fidelity, right? Like, you want to be able to make the roles have like a strong effect, and you want to give people like options, right? So there's just like a lot of options for each of the roles. I think it's like the list is a little intimidating because it definitely filled out like 2 sheets, right?
Yes.
Of nonsense, and like they also included like the math as well, right? Like, depending on the ship size, right, and how easy of that ship it is to pilot and all that kind of stuff. So there is a lot of moving parts, but the good thing is that you don't have to know all of it yourself, right? Like,
yeah.
In all honesty, like, if somebody is like the science officer, they have to worry about the shields, right? If someone's the pilot, they just have to worry about getting the ship in position. Someone's the gunner, they just have to worry about, what gun to shoot and like all that kind of stuff. It because you're able to, break up like ship combat to the other players and not just be it makes it way better. It's like you're all running the one character together, right? Like, it's just easier, and it's not as complicated as it seems. Although I don't know how it's like on your side as the GM running a ship.
Sort of like one of the things I did for our Renegades of the Drift Starfinder series. One of them was like a ship with like a small crew, and that was a bit more difficult because I had to figure out like what are each of these people doing each round. Especially because like I mean it helps a bit that it's a small crew, so usually it was like, okay, one person's piloting, the other person's shooting, but sometimes it had to be like, well, they got to do some repairs real quick. But if that happens, then I can't move and shoot. So, there are some difficulties with that. I think there's some new rules that sort of compensate for that sort of thing now. But it is a bit complex. I will say the whale itself was a bit easier to deal with because it's like its own thing, if that makes sense. Like it was just one thing to worry about. I didn't have to think about like what's this person on the crew doing. There's only one crew. It's the whale. And once I made a note of like what the whale is gunnery check is, like its check for shooting. Once I made a note of that, then it was like super easy. It was just like it's gonna move. It actually you could have discovered this if you analyzed it, but it had like perfect maneuverability, so I didn't have to worry about like compensating for, because with maneuverability in Starfinder ships, you have to like move a certain amount of spaces forward before you can turn it all. But I didn't have to worry about any of that. I could just basically move wherever I wanted because it had perfect maneuverability. It was super fast. It was like definitely faster than you guys. So I had a lot of options for movement. So I wasn't too worried about that. And then, I just read over all of its abilities and it's like, okay, this does this, this does this. I'll just jot something down so I don't have to go flipping through a book for it later. So yeah, whale wasn't too hard. A ship with crew probably would be a bit harder for me.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like they should, if they have, I don't know, maybe you could check it out. But I know that in Lancer, the NPCs are just simpler than players. That's just how it is, right? Because you're, as a GM, you're trying to run, 4 of them at a time, right? Mm-hmm. And they need to be able to have like a handful of abilities to, make the game just like a little bit more, make the encounter more challenging for your players, right? So it's like they're not so complex as a player, but they still function kind of the same way. I'm wondering if that would be the way to fix that, right? Like maybe make it easier on the DM to run star combat, because like I think that because the star map could be so big, it'd be cool to have like a bunch of TIE fighters trying to shoot us down or something like that, like in Star Wars, where like they're always outnumbered, being chased down by the Empire, right? And it'd be cool to have like multiple ships going at it, and you're literally surrounded, and it's kind of like this crazy hectic dogfight, right? So far I think we've only done one-on-one fights because you said it's kind of hard once you have more than one crew member and you try to figure out where to go, right? So
like for me, like I can put down the number of like, I can just give them simple numbers for their checks. The thing that bugs me the most though is always going to be like, what should they do each round? I think next time I'll probably just have like a larger ship crew, so my concern can be more, well, what can I do now, as opposed to what am I losing if this person does something else, which was like my biggest issue with that other fight. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would just, it's a thing I just need more practice with, I think. I think that's what it really comes down to. Like most things in life, if you do it more, you get better at it.
There you go, folks. Another Win with Dice tip of the week for you right there.
Do things and get better at them.
You can win with the dice. Yeah, man. No, it was fun. Thanks for running again. I had a blast. I'm glad that everybody else had a blast. It's always fun to play Starfinder with you.
Yeah, I hope we get to do that again. I don't know. I hope we get to do more ship fights again. I just hope he gets. I'm just really grateful to be able to play in person again. You know, there were issues with it, at least for me. I had to deal with my laptop for the first time in a while, and my super slow, super annoying laptop. I think I just need to like full reset that thing or something. I don't know, but you know, it just being around a table with people again. Just I'm just so grateful for that experience. I could have done anything, and I'd have been happy. We also played some Sentinels of the Multiverse, which is like my favorite game. My favorite physical game. I don't know if I would call it a board game, and I hesitate to call it a card game. It's more like a game with cards.
It's definitely a board game. Yeah, it's definitely a board game, Calvin. Like,
I mean, I guess. I guess if it's the literal definition. A board game. Oh man, yeah, Sentinels is just like a really fun game. Can we talk about Sentinels a bit? I know we're like just cresting over an hour. I don't know where we'll be when I edit this because I clip some things out. But yeah, Sentinels of the Multiverse. If you haven't checked it out, it's like a superhero board game with cards where each hero is a deck. But each supervillain is also a deck that basically plays itself, and the environment you battle in is also a deck that basically plays itself. It's just many options, and it's just so adaptable, and the heroes are just so cool and fun to use. There's so many like crazy, incredible, interesting characters that have awesome artwork, and they're making some newer stuff like a definitive edition and a crossover with the Mutants and Masterminds universe. So, you know, it's a good time to be a Sentinels fan. And the literal Sentinels board game, which is actually a board game with boards and pieces.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
no, I think that the game is super fun. All of the heroes play uniquely, which is hilarious. I think it's kind of like a game design. You know, I'm surprised that like it works so well and everybody feels so different, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised that like there isn't just like an auto win combination, right? Everybody's kind of useful at doing some things and kind of useless at fighting other villains, right? You know, and all the villains are super unique.
I don't know if there's like a set of characters in the game that are just like, if you have this particular bunch of people in this particular order, you're always going to win. Like, every villain brings in their own different situations, whether they're summoning a bunch of minions, or they have different win conditions, or, you know, whatever else it may be. You have to adapt to it. And I don't know, I kind of prefer the more collaborative games over the more competitive ones. That's just me.
Yeah.
I know in our group cool. we like to try to one up each other, but you know, I like working together.
Sometimes it's nice to be friends.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'll put a link to the Sentinel site below. You can go check it out. It's a really fun game. But I did not expect this to take up the whole hour, but I think it's about to. This Starfinder situation, but it was really, I don't know, it was really fun to get back to the game, really fun to talk about it. I hope people found it interesting. I did have to like gun through that recap, but I was recapping like 3 sessions worth of stuff where a lot happened. So, but yeah, like I'm excited to get back to it. Probably looking forward to talking about it more, because you know we always want to talk about more different kinds of games on here. I don't think Starfinder is like a very obscure game, but you know, it's something different to chat about.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a lot to like get from Starfinder, man. Like I think the setting's kind of nuts. I mean, you could have dragons with laser beams and that's legal.
Yes.
Somehow. Like, you know, right, so I think it's an awesome setting, right? And I think it's a pretty cool game, and I wanna get cooler guns and stuff, and get power armor and jetpacks and cool pew pew laser beams and a rocket arm. Oh, I want a rocket arm so bad.
I'm gonna get you that rocket arm, and you can use it against some laser dragon fire. We'll see how that goes for you.
Yes. I just want to punch a laser dragon in the face with my rocket punch. Yeah, that'd be dope.
All right, well, if you want to hear about that Starfinder combat situation whenever it comes up, just hit that subscribe button, of course, and then, the notification button so you get a notification every time you upload an episode, as well as whenever we go live with Lancer. We've got a whole bunch of Lancer episodes that I recommend you check out because they're super cool and awesome and fun. The website, our website, withdice.ca, also has some of our, since we've been talking about Starfinder, there's some cool Starfinder pixel art on there that Ramon made. For our characters. You can go check it out there, as well as some art of our Lancer characters drawn by one of the players, so be sure to check that out on our website, winwithdice.ca. We're also on the social medias. We're on Facebook, but we're mostly active on Twitter at winwithdice, where you can go check out all the cool things that I retweet. I only retweet the coolest things. I also wanted to give a shout out to the field guide to Umfukane. We interviewed the author a while back, and the book was just recently released on itch.io. You can go there, you can get the content, you can get the LCP file, which is you add it to CompCon, which is the online builder for Lancer. You can add it there, and then you'll have like the Umfukane content on there. So be sure to go check that out. I'll put a link to it below. It's definitely like a great story, a great setting. So I want to make sure we talk about it because it did come out last week, and I neglected to mention it. So I want to make sure I mention it and make sure people go there and check it out. And be sure to check out our 2 interview episodes to learn more about it.
We should have him back on.
We definitely should. Oh, speaking of shoutouts, before I forget again, Untold Stories Projects. We have a lot of friends, which is really cool. Untold Stories Project, where I am out there playing Mutants and Masterminds every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Last session at time of recording, it will be a couple of sessions ago by the time this goes out, but we did sort of a NPC game. Basically, we were playing like certain characters' loved ones who had been kidnapped by some villains, so we weren't playing our usual heroes.
Oh,
so I was playing as my sidekick for a bit, which was pretty fun to do. Got to figure out more things about his personality, and figure out that I wanted to give him more points because I want him to be stronger.
You're like, I gotta work on this dude.
Yeah. So if you want to check out that very unique episode, be sure to check out the Untold Stories Project, which will also be linked below. And I don't know, I can't think of anything else we have to give a shout out to, but I probably will when I'm editing, as it always goes. I think that's probably about it for this episode. I don't know, Ramon, is there anything else that I have to mention, or should I just say the important phrase and then we sign off?
I think that it's time for the most important phrase.
Yes, the most important thing you need to remember is to spend the next year because we're a year old now, so spend the next year winning with dice, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys.